All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both epic fantasy novels published by Simon and Schuster's Saga Press. And today I am going to be reviewing C.J. Bach's Trophy Hunt. This is book number 4 in his Joe Pickett mystery series. Game Warden Joe Pickett from Saddle Springs, Wyoming, out solving bizarre mysteries in the West. Now, we always review the covers first. This book came out in 2004. They've reissued all the paperbacks with these really slick looking Wyoming wilderness scenes and the great font and type, and then all the spines of the books match up like that. I've got magic marker all over my finger. I apologize, folks. Then the backs. So the covers look real slick. Now I've got the entire series up there. You can see how the spines of all the covers match there. And like I'm telling you, all of each book has a great Wyoming wilderness scene on the cover. Trophy Hunt. What's it about? What's it about? Well, it's the best book about cow castrating aliens that I've ever read. I am serious, man. This is the best book about aliens that castrate cows that I have ever read in my life. Joe Pickett is a game warden. In the first few books, you can go watch my reviews of the first 3 books in the series so far. There are like 20 some odd books in the series. I am at book number 4 now, Trophy Hunt. But Joe Pickett is a game warden. He's a rather new game warden. He makes mistakes. He's not the most perfect guy in the world. He's got a great family. And one of the reasons I love this series, one of the reasons I'm so hyped up on this series, is because we get to know Joe Pickett as this flawed game warden / law enforcement guy and his whole family. And the people in the community of Saddle Springs, Wyoming that he deals with, especially like the sheriff who doesn't get along with him, and the deputy sheriff who doesn't get along with him, and a lot of the other townsfolk, and some of the people that he does get along with, but most namely his family, his wife and his daughters Sheridan and Lucy and their dog Maxine. They make for they're just great characters to follow around. And Joe Pickett, our game warden, is just a good guy. He's just one of those old cowboy types, those Wyoming salt of the earth American dudes that just always has everyone's best interest at heart, and he just wants to do good at every turn, and he wants to do a good job at his job, which is game wardening. Well, he goes out fishing. As this book starts out, he goes out fishing with his 2 daughters, Sheridan and Lucy, and they start to find, and he's teaching them how to fish, and he starts to find dead fish floating in the water, and he's like, well, that's weird. Well, they go upstream, and they see that there's this fisherman, and there's this guy and a lady, and they're fishing, and they're just turning, they're turning the fish loose, but in the wrong way, and the fish are dying, and Joe has a confrontation with them. But as he's having this talk with these people, and he doesn't write them a ticket, he just warns them, hey, I appreciate the fact that you're fishing and you're releasing them, but you're releasing them in the wrong way. The way you're releasing them is actually killing them. He's like, but the guy's kind of a prick. And Joe's just like, I'm trying to be nice to these people, but the guy's being a prick. But at the same time, there's this awful stench in the air. And he's talking, he's like, to the guy, he's like, there's a stench in the air. Do you smell that? And the guy's like, oh yeah, we've been smelling it for a while. We've been thinking of moving on off of this creek because it stinks over here. And the guy's like, I think it stinks because I think there might be a dead animal up in the meadow. So Joe takes his 2 daughters and they go up to the meadow and they find a dead moose. Well, Joe is perplexed by this dead moose because he can't tell what's killed it, and there's some strange markings on it, and there's no blood around it. And anyway, he leaves it there because it's bloated, and his daughters are freaking out. And so the next day he goes to get the dead moose, and the dead moose is gone. Just missing. Looks like it's been dragged off by a bear. And one of the things that was perplexing to Joe when he first found the moose was there was no blood. The thing was dead. It was carved up really weird, but there was no blood. and none of the critters had come and eaten it. He's like, he'd ran across a lot of dead things in his years as a in his 4 years as a game warden. He had run across a lot of dead animals, and usually if they laid dead for any more than half a day, other critters would come and sort of eat them and things like that. But the one thing he did notice, this is going to be gross, the moose did, when he found the moose with his daughters, the moose did, its genitals were, as he puts it in the book, cored out, which means something had been eating at, the boy-girl parts of the moose. And those were gone, and they were cored out, as they call it in fish and game talk. When other animals eat other animals, they usually go, I know this is weird, but they usually go in through the anus and sphincter area of the dead animal, and that's how they get into it. Well, he noticed that about it. He's like, okay, something's been out here, but I don't know what. But then when he goes the next day, the thing is gone, and he can tell that it maybe a bear dragged it off. So now he's wondering, was it a bear that originally killed it? He doesn't know. Well, anyway, the next day, he finds a bunch of cattle on a cattle ranch that have been killed in the same way. Their faces have been peeled off. That was another thing. The moose's face had been peeled off, as if the bear or something had peeled it off. And then he finds all these dead cows with their faces peeled off and their sphincters cored out. I'm going to stop with that because we're going to get into some alien abduction things later. And this book is crazy, okay? This book is out of sight with just where I thought I was reading a Dean Koontz. The first 3 books in this series were straight up mysteries, and then this one comes in, book number 4, and I feel like I'm reading a Dean Koontz X-Files novel. It is really, really great. It's really great. I am jazzed about this book's fun because now he's investigating all these dead animals that have got the same markings, no blood, and what's weird is he notices that around all these dead things that the birds don't fly. Whatever's killed these things has even scared the birds away. And then he finds dead people. Then they find a guy that's drunk dead, and they find his corpse with the same markings and the same problems in a crater. It's like a grenade blew a perfectly round crater, and they find the dead body in that. And he's like, people, and then now people in the town in Saddle Springs, Wyoming, are starting to talk about old legends about the alien invasion. The aliens, the crop circle making aliens. And they're like, oh, the aliens are back doing their thing. And Joe's like, what do you mean the aliens are back doing their thing? Oh, yeah, this happened in the 70s. This happened years ago where people started dropping dead. Animals started dropping dead. Same markings, same things. And it was aliens that did it. The aliens came down and did it. Kidnapped some of us. Probed our bungholes. The whole 9 yards. And Joe Pickett's like, oh, my God. Oh my God, am I literally in an X-Files episode? He actually references X-Files a whole bunch in here. And that's only the tip of the iceberg. He's like thinking, is it vampires? Is it a bear? Why are the birds? He loves to go falconing. And his buddy that takes him falconing, the falcons won't even fly in the air. Birds have disappeared out of Saddle String. Something creepy is going on. And then the emo goth teenager Dina shows up. And that's when stuff gets really freaky. Because we know, once the emo goth teenage girl shows up, that all Twilight My Chemical Romance Living Hell is gonna start. And by God, it does. This book, I loved this book so damn much. You know how much I love the first 3 Joe Pickett Game Warden novels. I was not expecting this at all. I was not expecting him to throw such a curveball at me and have me 3/4 of the way through this book thinking that Sculler and Moldy, that's not the X-File people's names. Mulder and Scully. Is it Mulder and Scully? Yeah. I thought that they were a spaceship was gonna land, and Bill Cosby was gonna come spilling out of it selling Jello pudding pops. And then behind him, Sculler and Muldy from the X-Files were gonna come out and be like, ta-da! We are probing people's bungholes in Saddle Spring, Wyoming, and it's just the way it's gonna be. But no, he wraps the story up with a very plausible, realistic explanation for what's going on. But for 3/4 of this book, am I reading Dean Koontz? Is this Stephen King I'm looking at? It is absolutely dynamite. I loved this book. So far, book number 4, Trophy Hunt, is my favorite book in the Joe Pickett series. And you know that I have been obsessed with this for the last couple of weeks, these Joe Pickett novels. And they just keep getting better and better and better. Oh my God. My God, I love them. Joe Pickett and C.J. Box, Trophy Hunt, 10 out of 10. This book is darn near perfect. And I'm telling you, C.J. Box, as a writer, is a fucking all-star.